One of the first phone calls I got after the Victoria's Secret car came from a guy named Todd who watches the VINwiki channel. And he reached out, seeing that I tracked down the Victoria's Secret car, if I could find one of his old builds that he did way back in the 70s. This car was a 1973 Plymouth Roadrunner that he rescued from a junkyard. I mean, looking like a complete wreck with no fender, no door. His dad had told him, "You will never get this car to run again." So he did what any sensible person would do and got a job at a NASCAR plant building chassis for NASCAR race cars. Built himself an entirely custom tube chassis with a crazy engine, a 440 built out, and just made this thing into an absolute drag monster within a couple of years. He had become pretty well known for this car locally, and he did, the paintwork on it, made the car beautiful, put a roll cage in it, custom tubbed it, did a whole bunch of metal work on the firewall. It really was just a complete one-of-one build by himself. His business, which was actually building Mopar parts, race parts, and whatnot, had been in a little bit of a constraint, and so around 1980 he had gotten into a situation where he had to sell the car and really did not want to. Didn't record the VIN number or anything, and being that it was kind of a hasty transaction, he just let it go and considered it gone. He has gone on to build a company that specifically does modern Mopar race parts and intakes and even some chassis work and things like that to build Mopars into drag cars. So this car had always had a huge influence into what he became, and he always had a part of him with this car. As he got older, he kind of assumed the car was gone forever, but he reached out to me kind of hoping for a miracle. He had one photo of the car on a drag strip and kind of a for sale ad of it in Michigan in the 2000s. Now, this for sale ad I thought was very promising because it had a VIN, and I thought this was going to be over with in a couple of minutes flat and we could just run this VIN, but it wasn't a Roadrunner VIN. It kept coming back to a 68 Dodge Coronet. We had no VIN to go off of, no modern photos of the car, and I basically told him, look, this may actually take forever if it's even possible. Muscle cars are some of the hardest cars to track down because so much can change on them, so much can happen. I mean, some Shelbys had, the Shelby VIN on the front fender, so if you get into an accident and you need to replace the front fender, it's like no longer a Shelby VIN. It's crazy what they do with muscle cars. They're a really hard car to track down. Now, this 73 that he had, being that it was a tube chassis and a full custom race car, I was thinking, there's a chance, did it even still have a Roadrunner VIN on it? He confirmed that it did. The person that he had given the car to in the 1980s went and just flipped it immediately to a guy in Battle Creek, Michigan. This guy in Battle Creek had actually kept it for a very long time, and that was his for sale ad that we found on the car. It had his phone number on the windshield in vinyl sticker. He seemed just like my client. He was an older gentleman who built race cars, motorcycles, things like that, and he probably, I figured he'd be willing to help us. So I gave him a call, and he wasn't rude, but he was about as dismissive as you could possibly be, only telling me that the car went to Indiana and that he really didn't have time for this right now, and hung up. I called my client back and I was like, I need to know what you know about it going to Indiana. And he's like, that's all he told me. I got nothing else from him, that it's Indiana and that my buddy called them already and doesn't want to hear about this anymore. So the guy was kind of being so dodgy about it that I thought maybe there's a possibility, which wasn't the case, but there's a possibility that being a tube chassis with a valuable VIN, maybe it was already VIN swapped to something and there was really no chance of getting this car back. I just start searching everything I can. I start reaching out to every Indiana drag strip I could. I start, the Mopar posts, the 73 Roadrunner forums, everything you can imagine. I start making posts, hoping somebody will recognize this. I had kind of put it on the back burner, waiting for these posts to work a little bit, and nothing came of it. So about the 5th or 6th month, I decided to sit down and renew this search, and I just start raw searching everything possible. And I come across a post of what looks to be a very, very similar car with now a blue stripe instead of a purple stripe, but a custom firewall, different rims than it was last photographed with, but a, tubed chassis with a tubbed body and just everything lined up on this thing. So I click on it and it's in Indiana. So I shoot the guy a message. It takes quite a while for him to get back to me, but he finally calls me back and he says, this was my neighbor's car, gives me his neighbor's name and address and everything, and it was right around the block. So I called him, and we didn't have a VIN number to work off of, so I had no way to really confirm that this was the car just based off of the paperwork. So we had him go out and send a whole bunch of pictures of the chassis, of the custom mounts and custom ball joints that were in it. And the second my client saw it, he recognized it as his car. So the car was still black. It had a completely different engine. The engine bay was painted blue. It had different wheels. It still had purple carpeting, which I thought was funny because they had repainted the roll cage inside from purple to black when he had first built it. Erased all the other purple accents except for the carpets. But the second he saw the firewall and the tub chassis, he knew it was his car. He kind of didn't believe me at first, and I was speaking with him and, his right-hand man on Facebook and a few different other people about keeping them updated with looking for this car. When we found it, and this guy had kind of confirmed that it was his, and I called him back, he was ecstatic, doesn't even begin to describe it. He immediately planned a trip up there. Sends me a photo when he gets there of him in tears with the current owner of the car, who was also trying to relive his youth and did not want to sell it back. But eventually, we were throwing around numbers like, if I actually get this guy on the phone, what do you think you're comfortable with? Obviously when you knock on somebody's door, there's a premium to what you pay on the car. He told me a number that the owner had actually come $5,000 less at, so it was within budget, and we didn't have to take the car as a roller like we assumed because it had a very high dollar motor build done by the current owner. So we got everything all in one for $5,000 under what my client was hoping to get it for. So they had their reunion, and as of last week, it's on a trailer back to him after 50 years of looking for it.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.